episode. Congrats to everybody, and to all of you, thank you for tuning in. I think it's the 10th anniversary. Am I right here? So happy 10th episode. I don't know if it's not 10 years, but it feels like the pandemic has been 10 years. So thanks to all of you for tuning in for our 10th episode. This is a really, really special one, I promise, and we're about to tell you why. So like I said, I'm Jen Rubin. We have some special guests. So let's go introduce ourselves today.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be back. It's Elizabeth Fabian from the library marketing team at Penguin Random House.
And dun-da-da-da!
Hi, I'm Vanessa Curzon. I'm from the Penguin Young Readers School and Library team. Thanks for having me.
And hi, my name is Emily Duval. I work on the library marketing team at Random House Children's Books, so I'm so excited to be here.
For our 10th episode, welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
We're so excited to have you. We always try and touch on books and audiobooks for all ages, but now we have some true experts here who will tell us some of the best summer reads for kids, so we're so thrilled. And just a reminder, even though I know that many of you already know this, but we have a hashtag, it's PRH Morning Buzz. We hope you'll use it. We hope you'll help us celebrate our 10th episode with all of these great books that we have to share for summer. Oh, wait, I should get my sunglasses going. We've got to be ready for summer. I needed props. It's been a while. I miss you guys. So here's our key. Just a reminder, again, I think many of you know this, but in case you forget, you can have a quick refresher there on the screen of all the different formats we're going to share. And I think we'll just start and kick it off with some quick resources and other things that we want you to know before we dive into the books. And also, before I do that, though, let's say where we're all calling from, though, because I think it's always interesting to know. I'm coming from Brooklyn. Elizabeth, where are you from?
I'm here in Connecticut, where it's sunny today, which has been has been sunny all week, so it's great.
That's great. And our newbies, Vanessa, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from West Palm Beach, Florida, and in typical Florida fashion, it is super sunny now, but in like 2 hours, we're going to have thunderstorms.
I think that's going to happen here, too, in Brooklyn, actually. So I'm going to pretend I'm in Florida. This is in your honor. I wish I was in Florida.
Glasses and like a tiki umbrella, too.
You can tell I really need to get out more. And Emily, where are you calling from?
I'm in Union City, New Jersey. So, and it's a little muggy and hazy over here.
Okay, well, I hope the sun comes out, but at least we know for the next about an hour, we'll all have lots to smile about. And thanks again to everyone. I love that a lot of people are writing in. Hello from Connecticut. Hello from New Jersey. Hello from Syosset Public Library. Keep telling us where you're coming from, because we love to see it, and it makes us feel like we're all together. So as promised, now let's kick it off and tell you about some of the quick resources before we get into the books. So I'm really excited. I've talked about Think before, and I think you may be familiar, but we have our second set of listening library titles that we're promoting starting tomorrow, July 2nd through the 8th. These are absolutely free. It's a wonderful program for teens, so you can head over to audiobooksync.com if you're not familiar. But we are offering Fresh Ink and Hope Nation, which I know you on there are also familiar with these amazing titles. So Fresh Ink is 13 of the most accomplished YA authors who deliver just beautiful short stories, graphic novel, which is interesting to hear come to life on audio, all these incredible topics that are really timely, especially right now. And then similarly, Hope Nation, which is edited by the fabulous Rose Brock, who is a wonderful advocate for audiobooks. Her wonderful compilation about hope. I hear someone, I think someone else needs to mute themselves. Sorry. We're live. It's okay. So Hope Nation is also going to be available, and I just highly recommend these full cast productions. They're just brilliant, and they're free. So please head over to audiobooksync.com and check them out. And then next up, we wanted to share with you some of the virtual events happening this week, and there are so many. I know it's hard to keep track, so the great thing is that if you've missed something, you can always go back. penguinrandomhouse.com/books connect us live is a wonderful resource, but we wanted to give you a peek of what's happening this week. Some of these things are happening today. Actually, my local bookstore, Books Are Magic, is hosting the incredible Jasmine Guillory. We have Good Morning America pick and the Today Show pick are meeting, clash of the morning shows. Kevin Kwan and J. Courtney Sullivan are going to be two writers talking today at 7 p.m. We're so excited about both of these books and audiobooks. There's just so much amazing things to catch here. So many amazing things to catch here. Colson Whitehead will be on today at 7 as well. So take a snapshot of this or head over to the website to see all of these amazing things. There's a Queens Public Library event with Chris Bojalian. So we hope that you will check these out and mark your calendars and head over for more virtual events on the website.
And we've been talking all week together about how sad we are that we couldn't be with all of you in Chicago for ALA. It's really, really, really sad that we couldn't be together. It's one of the things we look forward to most every year. But we were so thrilled that ALA decided to host a virtual conference, and we were, of course, thrilled to participate. If you weren't able to check out some of those events last week, we want to let you know that a lot of them are still available, and we hope you'll check out some of our great virtual events and materials. One of our favorite events at our ALA conferences is our Cocktails and Conversations events. We partner with Booklist, and we bring a panel of authors to you, our wonderful librarian friends, and it's a great chance to hear from the librarians and also mix and mingle with them. And we were so excited because a really great lineup of authors, including Carl Hyacin, Jodi Picoult, Jacqueline Winspear, and debut author Asha Lemme, along with the wonderful Donna Seaman from Booklist, jumped at the chance to recreate this event virtually with us. If you haven't had a moment to watch this, we hope you'll check it out. It really is such a treat. And we filled our virtual booth bookshelves with a whole assortment of forthcoming books in almost every genre, and we hope that you'll be as excited to check them out as we are. So you can go to the URL on the screen, and we'll certainly send that out after the presentation as well, so you don't need to hurry to write it down, to check out our author events, to check out our virtual booths, and request e-galleys, and a whole lot more.
And then speaking of ALA, I think we also want to make sure that you know about the fabulous things that our colleagues here did at ALA as well. Is that the next slide? Let's see. It is. So Vanessa, take it away.
Yeah, so likewise, the Penguin Young Readers team, we participated as well in ALA Virtual last week. Two really great things that we want you to check out is that we too had a virtual booth that you can head over and see. At the wrap up, you'll also get these links, so don't feel like you have to write them all down right now. But at our virtual booth, you can browse our bookshelves, you can find author videos, book talking their books, you can watch Zoom book talk videos like this that we posted there, and just lots of resources that go along with our books. We also hosted our own Cocktails and Conversations event. We called it ALA After Hours, Conversations with Penguin Kidlit Creators. So this is an hour-long, jam-packed with some fantastic programming. It kicked off with two picture book creators in conversation, followed by a middle grade panel and a YA panel after that, which you can see in the invite. So we recorded it, and we hope you have a chance to tune in.
And for Random House Children's Books, we also participated last week. And I would definitely encourage you to check out our virtual booth. We have everything hosted there. So we have author videos, we have staff picked videos of everything that our school and library team is reading right now and excited about. Upcoming books that are publishing in the summer and also coming up in the fall, including a new really exciting picture book from Dan Brown. And there's a great video with him explaining the picture book and all the fun music involved in it. So we're excited about that. I highly recommend you checking that out. And we also did a great middle grade webinar series with Booklist, which is hosted on that site, on that page as well. And I definitely recommend you checking that out. It covers meaty middle grade with Rebecca Stead and Nick Stone, middle grade series, and middle grade self-discovery. And it's a really great conversations, and they're all recorded and archived, so we definitely recommend you checking that out. And again, no need to write down the URL. It'll be shared out after this.
I know, we're really bombarding you guys this week with even more resources, which is really exciting. But yes, we will be sending everything out at the end. But I'm excited to check these things out as well. And there's even more.
So I'm so excited to be able to present to you today our a handful of summer reading recommendations, but our team dived in a little bit more in these 3 videos that you can watch if you want to really find out what our summer reading recommendations are for chapter books, middle grade, and YA. So the links are also included here, so you could go back and watch our team giving those presentations. And just a reminder that we have a website dedicated to teachers and librarians. It's called penguinclassroom.com. So you can always find recommendations from our team with resources that go along the books that are for teaching or that go along with book club discussions. And then you can request any of our authors for a virtual visit there too.
Yeah, and we also have our own website targeting teachers and librarians for everything that you might need, rhteachersandlibrarians.com. Also highly recommend following us on Twitter and Facebook, where we're constantly sharing out our resources, events, author information, and new books. And our newsletter as well, you can sign up on the website, which monthly sends out e-blasts with all sorts of new information that we want you to know about and fun books, of course. And then focus on summer reading. We have some really great resources. We have a brochure that's featured on the website, as well as these awesome summer reading checklists that you can download, print, and give to your readers to go through and keep track of what they're reading this summer. And each one has thematic recommendations and covers elementary, middle, and high school grade levels. And then we also have our summer reading staff picks that our team recorded as well. So I highly recommend checking that out.
This is great. I love the comments on the side. Everyone's saying this looks amazing, more. So we promise we'll send out those links to you. We'll not have to go searching for any of these things. So now we are ready. We're going to get into some of our summer picks for this year for all ages, and we're going to start with some adult picks.
So the main event, I'll start off with adult picks and then hand it over to my colleagues for some children's and YA picks. Let's first travel to the Gold Coast of Florida to meet up with Carl Hiaasen. And Vanessa. The best-selling author of Skinny Dip and Razor Girl is back with Squeeze Me, a hilarious new novel of social and political intrigue. It's the height of the Palm Beach charity ball season, and that means that every one of the posh locals gets to eat minimally, drink maximally, and see and be seen. But when a prominent society dowager disappears during one of these swank galas and is later found dead, well, panic and chaos ensue. Kiki Pugh was known not just for her wealth and jewels, but she was an ardent fan of the winter White House resident just down the road. And the president gets involved and declares that Kiki was the victim of rampaging immigrant hordes. And this, as you may have already guessed, is far from the truth. But where does the truth lie? Well, Angie Armstrong is a wildlife wrangler extraordinaire, and she arrives at her own conclusions when she's summoned to this posh island to deal with a mysterious and impolite influx of huge, hungry pythons. So we have parties, the president, pythons. This is pure, unadulterated Hiaasen. It's hilarious, it's irreverent, it's absurd, and it's tons of fun. So please check it out, and please check out the video of him talking about it, which is even more fun. But maybe you're in the mood for something else. Maybe you're in the mood for romance. And for that, we have Vanessa Riley's A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby. So the headstrong West Indian heiress Patience Jordan, she questions her English husband's mysterious suicide. But for that, she loses everything, her newborn son Lionel, her fortune, and her freedom. She's falsely imprisoned, and she starts to risk everything to be near her child, and is soon hired, unknowingly, as her son's own nanny. But working for his unsuspecting new guardian, the Duke of Reppington, has its own perils, especially when Patience discovers his military strictness belies that the ex-rake is unswerving honor and has an unexpected passion. Soon the Duke and Patience form a fragile trust, but will it be enough to save their future, the future that they dare to long toward together? We will see. Next is we're going to travel to Spain with The Silence of the White City by Eva Garcia Sainz.
I love all the different places we're going.
I know. We travel all over from our computer. So this is the first installment of a sensational White Trilogy series, which is already a major bestseller in Spain and Latin America, and it introduces us to Inspector Unai Lopez de Ayala, who follows a hunt for a terrifying killer. So a madman is holding the city of Vitoria hostage, killing its citizens in brutal ways and staging bodies. and Inspector Unai, known as Kraken, is their only hope. To him, the killings seem eerily familiar to ones that terrorized the city 20 years ago. Back then, police were sure that they had discovered the killer, but now Kraken must race to determine whether the killer had an accomplice or if the wrong man has been incarcerated for more than 2 decades. This is fast-paced, it's an unrelenting thriller, it weaves in and out of the mythology and the legends of the Basque Country, and it hurtles toward a shocking conclusion. It's a great recommendation for readers of literary and historical thrillers, fans of Stieg Larsson, Donna Leon, and Javier Sierra.
Although now that you described it, I don't actually want to be there myself, but I'll just read about it.
No, and there's a surprising number of thrillers on this list. So. This next book that I'm going to talk about, I'm really excited about. It's called A Room Called Earth. It's a beautifully written debut novel from an autistic writer. And this is the extraordinary story of a fiercely original young woman whose self-acceptance illuminates a new way of being and opens up a whole new realm of understanding. It's a novel that will appeal to fans of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and The Silver Linings Playbook. A full moon rises over Melbourne, Australia, and a young autistic woman is getting ready for a party. But what appears to be an ordinary night out, through the prism of her mind, becomes extraordinary. As the events unfold, she moves from person to person at the party, and she's charming and witty. She has a touch of irreverence, and people can't help but find her magnetic. With each encounter she has, however, whether it's an ex-boyfriend or a woman who wants to compliment her outfit, it reveals the vast discrepancies between what she's thinking and feeling and what she's actually able to say. And there's so much that she wants to say. And when she meets a man in line for the bathroom, the possibility of intimacy and genuine connection is nothing short of a miracle. When she invites this man home, we are invited into her remarkable world, and we come to appreciate that beneath the labels that we cling to, there's a singular perspective and a visceral joy of what it means to be alive. From the mind of Madeline Ryan, an outspoken advocate for neurodiversity, A Room Called Earth is a magical and miraculous adventure inside the mind of an autistic woman, filled with humor, and it's heartwarming, and it's brimming with joy. And I dare you not to fall in love with this narrator. She's a woman who waxes nostalgic for the Spice Girls. She brings her own martinis to the party that she's willing to share, and she looks forward to going home to her cat, Pork Chop. Next is The Wicked Sister, a new startling novel of psychological suspense from the best-selling author of The Marsh King's Daughter. Imagine you've been cut off from society for 15 years, shut away in a mental hospital, in a self-imposed exile as punishment for a terrible thing you did as a child. But what if nothing about your past is as it seems? And what if you didn't accidentally shoot your mother and kill her? Whoever is out there then is there still waiting for you. For a decade and a half, Rachel Cunningham has locked herself away in a psychiatric facility, tortured by the gaps in her memory and the certainty that she's responsible for her parents' death. When she learns new details about these murders, Rachel returns in a quest for answers. And as she begins to uncover what really happened that day her parents were murdered, she learns, as her mother did years earlier, that home can be a place of remarkable evil, and that the bond she shares with her sister might be the most poisonous of all. And finally, from me, is The Ghost of Harvard, a debut fiction that is perfect for fans of Donna Tartt's Secret History and Marisha Pessel's Special Topics in Calamity Physics. Many of you probably already know Francesca Saratella from her nonfiction essay collections with her mother, the best-selling author Lisa Scottolini, as well as their co-column in the Philadelphia Inquirer called Chick Wit. And while those essay collections and columns are warm and witty stories about their relationship and being a modern woman, this is a bit of a darker turn. It's a bit of a thriller, but it still mines those depths of family relationships. The main character, Cadence Archer, arrives at her freshman year at Harvard's campus, desperate to understand what happened to her brother Eric, a genius, who developed paranoid schizophrenia and took his own life there the year before. She's haunted by all the questions of what she would have missed. But as the pressures mount for her at Harvard, she searches for answers and then begins to hear voices herself, seemingly from 3 ghosts who walk the university's hallowed halls or huddled in its slave quarters. Does she share Eric's illness, or is she tapping into something else entirely? There is so much for readers to mine in this novel, and I think Harlan Coben says it really well. Ghost of Harvard is so many things: a rumination on grief, a glimpse behind the ivory walls of a famous institution, a poignant look at mental illness, and a powerful story about the ghosts that haunt us all. We were lucky enough to meet Francesca at ALA Midwinter in Philadelphia, and she is, to put it in a word, a dynamo. And if you want to hear her talk about the book, she did a great podcast interview with the Overdrive's Professional Book Nerds, so I hope that you'll check that out as well. Thank you.
And just to chime in, well, I'll also add, she did a great interview also with the Syosset Public Library, and I know they're listening in right now, but she was also on their podcast, Turn the Page. And if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to give you some behind the mic news for these amazing titles that you just heard about. You've probably heard of them already, but we're excited to tell you more. So the new Carl Hiaasen will be read by none other than Mr. Golden Voice himself, Scott Brick. He is, of course, the new Jack Reacher. He's Jason Bourne. He's Jack Ryan Jr., just to name a few. So I think now he can head to Palm Beach and handle Hiaasen's latest bout of hijinks here. And I think it's just going to be so much fun. You always know when Scott gets behind the mic, you are just in for a ride, and he is the master. So that'll be so much fun. I love that with The Wicked Sister, we have two voices behind the mic that'll really bring this twisted tale to life. What's really incredible is A Room Called Earth is being read by the author. She's actually recording in her home studio this week. There's been amazing behind-the-scenes work happening to allow authors to record from home at this time. Our team has been hard at work making that possible, and it's really incredible. And so she is going to be reading this herself, which will be really impactful and powerful to listen to as well, especially after hearing Elizabeth talk about what it's about. So I can't wait to actually hear her own voice as well. And then finally, I just wanted to mention too, Ghosts of Harvard is out and has been getting incredible praise. And also on the audio side, what's really neat, I mean, Carissa Backer is a pro, and Booklist put it, they said she delivers a compelling performance that enhances this genre-bending, moving story. But what I also love is that with the talk of ghosts and things like that, there is also some like reverb and special effects that happen with the narration in the book. So it really brings it to life in a very haunting way. And I highly recommend taking a listen. Now on to some fabulous Random House children's books. So Emily, fill us in.
Yeah, sure. I'm so excited to be able to share some exciting books that I highly recommend, great summer reads. I'm going to kick it off with the middle grade. So Isaiah Dunn is my hero. It's funny that we talked about Fresh Ink earlier in the presentation. So if you're familiar with Flying Lessons is part of a partnership that we have with We Need Diverse Books anthologies. Fresh Ink is one of them as well. And Isaiah Dunn first appeared in Flying Lessons in a short story written by Kelly Baptist. And she has now turned it into a full-on middle grade novel, which is absolutely amazing. So she turned it into a wonderful story that's engaging, and it's a great coming-of-age story about a boy who discovers the love of poetry after discovering his late father's journal. Isaiah is struggling to be the man of the house after the passing of his father, and he discovers his journal, which is filled with stories about the amazing Isaiah Dunn, a superhero who gets his powers from rice and beans and is based on Isaiah. The story is absolutely heartwarming and thoughtful, and the writing is just really warm. Kelly, you can tell, lives in a family with lots of children, and the family story and the atmosphere that she creates with her writing is just delicious. You don't want the book to end, and it's a wonderful read aloud story as well if you're looking for something for the whole family. It's one of my favorites, so recommend you checking that out. Next up, we have the list of things that will not change. I have to confess, this is one of my all-time favorite books that I've ever read, worked on at all. No pressure if you do.
You have to like this, everybody.
You have to like it. But it came out at the beginning of this year in April. It has garnered 8-star reviews. It's getting a lot of really wonderful, well-deserved praise. And it's from the middle grade master, Rebecca Stead, and follows Bee, a girl whose parents are divorced. Bee's dad is gay, and the book tells the story of the year her dad married his boyfriend, Jesse. And it's told in the perspective of Bee, a couple years older from when the story takes place. So it's in her perspective, but looking back. It's a book about big feelings and all different kinds of families. There's something for everyone in this one. One of my favorite things about the book is that Bee sees a therapist who's depicted in a very realistic and helpful way. And as someone whose my parents are both divorced, and I had to see therapists at a young age going through everything. And I think it's a really wonderful example for kids to have because I think that's very common. And another thing I love about it is that the parents are really united in their love for their daughter. So they tell her that they give her a list of things that will not change with the divorce and with her dad getting married. And one of them is that they will always love her. And I think that's such a really wonderful message, especially for kids who might be going through a divorce or have friends whose parents are going through a divorce. It's just a really wonderful, realistic depiction of a family. It's just a perfect book to connect us in these crazy times, and it's a feel-better book with great characters. One of my favorite things about Bee is that she's not the nicest all the time, and I think that's great. I think that's totally normal, and she learns from it, and she gets angry sometimes, and she works through it, and that's okay. And I just love it. I can talk all day about that one. So I highly recommend you checking that out. Next up, we have a debut middle grade from the #1 New York Times bestselling author Stone of Dear Martin. This is a middle grade road trip story through American race relations, past and present. Scoob is an 11-year-old black boy whose spring break trip gets canceled, and his white grandmother whisks him away on a road trip through the South following the Green Book. It's set against the backdrop of the segregation history of the American South, and it's about an 11-year boy who is about to discover that the world hasn't always been hasn't been a welcoming place for kids like him, and things aren't always what they seem, his grandma included. Nick has said several times in interviews talking about this book that she wrote this book in response to librarians and educators asking for a middle grade version of Dear Martin, and I think she really hit it out of the park with this one. It's an amazing pick for a community-wide read, I think, especially for right now. Not only does it explore race relations and the history of our country, but it's also a great exploration of generational relationships and families, which I think is something that's being talked about a lot right now. And it's just really kid-friendly. She's so good at writing from the perspective of a young boy, and it's because she has 2 of her own. And it's a really great read. So highly recommend checking that out. Next up is The Talk. This is another middle grade anthology. This is not out yet. We actually moved up the pub date, so it's publishing on August 11th. But this is a powerful collection of short stories, essays, poems, and art with a call to action that invites all families to be anti-racist and advocate for change. The Talk is an anthology of 30 diverse award-winning authors and illustrators, including Renee Watson, Grace Lynn, Meg Medina, and Adam Gidwitz, and more. And they engage young people in frank discussions about racism, identity, and self-esteem, featuring stories and images filled with love, acceptance, truth, peace, and an assurance that there can be a hope for a better tomorrow. The Talk is an inspiring anthology and a must-have resource published in partnership with Just Us Books, a Black-owned children's publishing company that's been in operation for over 30 years. Just Us Books continues to grow its mission, grounded in the same belief that helped launch the company. Good books make a difference. The book is edited by Wade and Cheryl Hudson, who are the founders of Just Us Books. And they're also the editors of the anthology that came out a couple years ago, We Rise, We Resist, We Raise Our Voices. They're just so passionate about creating important books for children and really bring the children's literature community together to do so. The Talk, a lot of talks are happening right now with everything going on in the country. So this is just a really wonderful resource to help advance those conversations, help spark those conversations. So we're excited to be able to move the pub date up a little bit to August 11th. And then moving into some exciting YA. Again, it's from the New York Times bestselling author of We Were Liars and Genuine Fraud. It ups the ante with an inventive and romantic story about human connection, forgiveness, self-discovery, and possibility. After a near-fatal family catastrophe and an unexpected romantic upheaval, Adelaide Buchwald finds herself captivated with a summer of a wild possibility, during which she will fall in and out of love 1,000 times, while finally confronting the secrets she keeps, her ideas about love, and the weird grandiosity of the human mind. This is a raw and funny story that will surprise you over and over again and again, and gives an indelible heroine grappling with this terrible and wonderful problem of loving other people. The narrative structure in this book is so mesmerizing. I don't want to give too much away about it because part of the pleasure of this book is the way it unfolds in such an unpredictable way. But there is a question of reality versus imagination here, which will keep you reading until the very last page. This is my favorite type of summer read. It's a great addicting hook with a lovable heroine that also addresses some deep questions and will stick with you even after you finish reading it. So really excited about that one. Last up, This Is My America. This is coming out at the end of July. It's a searing, unforgettable YA debut from Kim Johnson, perfect for fans of Dear Martin and The Hate You Give. Every week, 17-year-old Tracy Beaumont writes letters to Innocent X, asking the organization to help her father, an innocent Black man on death row. After 7 years, Tracy is running out of time, and her dad has only 267 days left. Then the unthinkable happens. The police arrive in the middle of the night, and her older brother, Jamal, goes from being a bright, promising track star to a thug on the run, accused of killing a white girl. Determined to save her brother, Tracy investigates what really happened between Jamal and Angela. This book is a gripping and eye-opening look into the criminal justice system, but at the same time, it reads like a gripping thriller. Tracy and her family's survival hangs in the balance as she uncovers the skeletons of their Texas town racist history that still haunt the present. This is a must-read that will spark lots of conversations, but I would also hand it to readers who are, reading Karen McManus and into thrillers. This has a lot of meat to it, but it does read like a really rapid thriller that you have to get to the end. It's high stakes, and it's obviously a very real story. So I also recommend pairing it with Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson as well, which Kim has said inspired her to write the book. So, yeah, that's it.
So many amazing books. And also, I'm sure you read this, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but just in case you guys missed it, Kim Johnson and Nick Stone actually did a Q&A with each other in EW, and you can read it online. And I guess in the recap, too, we could also send a link, but it was really great to hear them talk to each other. And then Nick Stone also wrote this gorgeous, gorgeous piece for Cosmo about the kinds of books that we need to read and that we should be reading books showing people of color doing everything and not just books about what's happening at this moment and with police brutality and all this. But she's an amazing writer, and I really loved reading that piece. I highly recommend it. And just to give you a little bit of a behind the mic peek at these incredible titles, not that much more needs to be said, but just to let you know some other really cool things. You already touched on, of course, that Isaiah Dunn Is My Hero started as a short story and Flying Lessons and Other Stories. And what's really cool, and this is no mistake, of course, but Adam Lazar-White read the original short story, which was called The Beans and Rice Chronicles of Isaiah Dunn, so that if you fell in love with it like many of us did in the first book, you can continue on with Isaiah's story with the same narrator. Adam is just an incredible narrator. I just highly recommend even just listening to a clip on the Books on Tape website and hearing his voice bring the story to life is truly beautiful. And we're so thrilled that he's back to read the full story of Isaiah. And then also there's so much to say here, so I'll let you take it in, but to touch on as well, what's really cool, you could see Wade and Cheryl behind the mic there when they were working on We Rise, We Resist, We Raise Our Voices, which was their first incredible compilation that came out last year, I think. And what's really amazing, too, is that it's going to have original music on the audiobook as well, which is great because Wade's brother is in the music business and is named Curtis Hudson, who you might be familiar with. He's worked with people like Madonna and some other names you might know. So he's adding some original music to the audio production, which is really beautiful. And we're going to have a full cast of voices behind this one. And then some incredible narrators, of course, behind the mic for all of these. Dion Graham has formed an incredible working friendship and relationship with Nick Stone. He's read so many of of her books and does such a beautiful job. There was a wonderful interview between him and Nick that AudioFile magazine recently re-released. It was originally recorded when Dear Martin came out, but Dion also reads Clean Getaway, which also won an AudioFile Earphones Award. He will be reading Dear Justice, which comes out this fall. So I think Nick Stone fans will be thrilled to hear that Dion is back and reading her latest books. And she also narrates herself. Did you guys know that? The ones that Dion has not read have been narrated by Nick herself, which is pretty incredible. And then two women who have both won Audio Awards for being Best Female Narrators of the Year at different times, Tavia Gilbert and Bonnie Turpin, two of the best, are up there as well. So just highly recommend, if you're an audio fan or recommending these for your young patrons, that the audio editions for all of these are not to be missed.
Wow, so many great books. It's really hard to pick just like 6 books that you want to talk about. But these are the 6 books from Penguin Narrators I really don't want you to miss, and I'll tell you why. Starting with Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi. Ibram X. Kendi is a professor of history and the founding director of Boston University's Center for Anti-Racist Research. And his message from How to Be an Anti-Racist is resonating with us all for good reason. And we are so honored and grateful to be able to help bring Dr. Kendi's message to the youngest reader. As Dr. Kendi says, studies show even babies are being nurtured in racism, and we need a tool to place our precious children on a lifelong path to being anti-racist. Anti-Racist Baby is such a helpful resource to introduce these concepts and the power of anti-racism to children, and not just babies. I think that this could be a great book, like a great jumping off point for elementary age kids too, and the grown-ups in their lives as well. It provides the language that's necessary to begin these critical conversations, and this book takes readers through 9 steps to being anti-racist, from talking about race, celebrating difference, accepting all people, acknowledging racist ideas of your own, and finally, just believing that we shall overcome racism in this country. And as a mother of 2, I have been looking for a book like this for this young reader, and now we have it. So this is a really exciting publication for us. The board book format has been available since June, but now we'll have a picture book format that's coming out this July. Next up, we have Harbor Me from Jacqueline Woodson. I know that you're no stranger to Jacqueline Woodson's body of work. She's the best-selling author of adult and children's books, and she was our former national ambassador for young people's literature. So Harbor Me is a middle grade novel, but like all of Jacqueline Woodson's books, it's really perfect for all ages. My copy at home is basically yellow because I've highlighted like every sentence. It's like not a great thing to tell librarians, but it's true. It's that kind of book. So in this, you follow 6 kids who are sent to a room for a weekly chat by themselves with no adults to listen in. So here they're really able to connect with one another and share what's happening in their lives. So we, the readers, get to listen in. What's it like to have a father in prison? To have a father disappear and then later found out that he's been deported. There's a Black boy in here who has a real fear of being racially profiled, and then the conversation that he has with one of his white peers. The stories in this book are just so relatable for so many kids, readers who often don't see themselves represented in these books, and it also celebrates open-minded dialogue and friendship. So now it's available in paperback, and I think this book is essential for kids who need to look outside of themselves and to imagine what's happening with their peers, especially right now and right before back to school, when we go back to school.
I know.
We have a discussion guide available for this book and most of the books that you see on the screen that we'll also send to you in the wrap-up after the event. And then moving on to My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich. This is from National Book Award finalist Evie Zavoy. This is her middle grade debut, and she brings us a very unforgettable character. Ebony Grace is a sci-fi obsessed granddaughter of one of the first Black engineers to integrate NASA. It's set in Harlem in the 80s during the early days of hip hop. My Love is an Ice Cream Sandwich is a moving and hilarious story of a young Black girl who isn't neurotypical. She'd rather live in her imagination than in reality, and she is just trying to find her place and voice in a world that's changing at warp speed. And a really cool thing about this is that most of the chapters open with comic strip panels that tell Ebony's like sci-fi version of her life, which I think is just really fun for kids. It's perfect for kids who are happy to march to the beat of their own drums, who love science, who love historical fiction, and it transports you to another world, which is Ebony's imagination, and really what we all want from a summer read, right? And then the next book, so pleased to bring attention to this book if you haven't heard of it. The Stars and the Blackness Between Them is a YA novel by Junauda Petrus, and it just received a Coretta Scott King Author Honor Award. This book is beautiful. It's received that and other critical acclaim. It was a Kirkus Best Book, a Yelp Best Book for Young Adults Top 10 book, an ALE Rainbow List book, and the list goes on. This book is so tender and soft that it leaves you feeling at peace with yourself and the world after reading it. Several reviews have called it deeply spiritual, an immersive queer romance, a meditation on love. Must I go on? I feel like that. It's told in two distinct voices. So we have 16-year-old Audrey, who's being sent from Trinidad to live in America with her father after her religious mother has caught her with her secret girlfriend. You follow me? And then we have 16-year-old Mabel, who's trying to figure out her feelings for her ex, Terrell, and her friend Jada, and this moment they all had together in the woods, and this vague illness that she's been feeling all summer. And then when these two girls meet, Mabel quickly falls for Audrey, but their relationship takes a turn when we find out just why Mabel's been feeling sick all summer. So this is a brilliant debut novel that captures the intensity of just not only Mabel and Audrey's relationship, but the importance of relationships, gay and straight, that preceded it. And Junauda does this with such a balance of joy and pain, injustice, and tolerance. In short, you need to read this book. And then next is Dig by A.S. King, which was the winner of the 2020 Michael L. Prince Medal and also a finalist for the 2020 Los Angeles Times Book Prize. I mean, we knew that this book was something special when we saw the stars rack up. It just had 6 stars by the end of the year. But it's really essential reading, I think, in 2020 because of the way A.S. King confronts white supremacy and white privilege and the ingrained system that perpetrates them. Dig dives into the tangled secrets of a wealthy white family and the terrible cost that their grandchildren pay to maintain the family name, and how this toxic culture of not just like polite white supremacy, but also abuse, assault, misogyny, this all tears one family apart. And it's also about how one determined generation tries to dig their way out of it. It's part American History X, part Slaughterhouse-5, and mesmerizing. It's a book I think that everyone should consider for their next book club pick. And speaking of book club picks, Lovely War by Julie Berry, I'd love to introduce you to if you don't already know it. This is a New York Times bestseller. It's a love story of mythic proportions set during World War I and World War II. The Greek gods narrate the budding love story of 4 humans, a British soldier, a young British pianist, a Belgian singer, and an African-American soldier as they navigate the war, the trenches, and their mortality. Our team likes to say that this is Ruta Sepetys meets Rick Jordan. And if you can't understand that, I think you just need to read the book.
That's a great combination.
Yeah, it works. If you've read it, Lovely War, it was a critical smash, garnering 7-star reviews and award attention, and now it's available in paperback. And to quote Bookpage in their starred review, Julie Berry is a modern master of historical fiction for young readers. So that's my top 3.
And then I had a lot of trouble making the next slide because it's chaos, because there's so many cool things similar to the other slides as well. These are such powerful, incredible books, as you've just heard, and we were thrilled to have the audio editions. We're really lucky that we were able to include the author's note that was recently added by Ibram X. Kendi to Auntie Reese's Baby to the audiobook as well. So listeners won't miss out on that wonderful piece that that was added in. So look for that or listen for that. I have to spend an extra moment on Harbor Me, because if you're not familiar with this audiobook, it is extraordinary. And it pained me that I didn't have room to include the entire full cast on the slide. But what I really wanted to make sure you knew was that Jackie Woodson herself is, she plays the teacher in the audiobook, which is incredible. She's read, again, I feel like so many of these books that happen to be chosen, these authors are so talented, and not every author can narrate a fiction audiobook, but Jackie Woodson certainly can, and she plays a vital role here. It's a beautiful full cast production with incredible reviews. And also at the end, and this is, no one can miss this. I've listened to this multiple times. It's so beautiful. Jackie does a special interview with her son, Jackson Leroy, and it is so moving and so honest, and it's really beautiful. He's 10 years old when the interview was recorded, and they talk about this book and his own experience in school and talking to friends about some of the things that come up in the story, and it's just a really beautiful conversation that I think you don't often hear in such a way, where it's really like a parent and a child, and of course a writer and a child talking together honestly about these topics, and it's just so worth taking a listen to. And then speaking of other incredible authors, Evie Zavoy reads her own audiobook as well. She did a really great interview with our podcast from PRH Audio called This is the Author, where she talks about what she was most excited about in narrating it and why she wanted to bring it to life. And I love her answer. We always ask them, like, what would you describe, if you could describe your audio recording in one word, what would it be? And her answer was unlike anyone's I've ever heard. She said it would be pew pew, like when Wonder Woman has her like magical bracelet. And she even spelled it out for us because we were like, how do we document this? And she's like, it's P-E-W. But pew pew is how she would describe her experience narrating, because she was just so proud of the work that she was able to do, and the voice, the rhythm, the musicality of what it meant to bring this world to life from, you know, the 80s in New York City, and something she really experienced herself. She wanted people to hear it. And so it was really important to her to bring that cadence and musicality to the audiobook. The Stars and the Blackness Between Them has 3 amazing voices. Also, one of the narrators is the author herself, and she is joined by Bonnie Turpin and J.D. Jackson, who are, again, some of the best. A.S. King is a narrator on her audiobook, Dig. I know you're getting tired of this pattern here. It's just incredible. These are wonderful productions. And then finally, Lovely War. Also Dig, I should mention, was a YALSA Amazing Audiobook Top 10 pick, which is no surprise. And Lovely War was also a YALSA Amazing Audiobook. Julie Berry wrote a really beautiful essay that I also want to send to you guys. You're going to have so much to read. You're going to be booked for the whole weekend with this follow-up. But she wrote a beautiful essay about why she loved her audiobook so much. And this full cast is really incredible in how they brought it to life, but I'll let her speak for herself. She says, I'm more or less giddy about the finished results of my dream team's work. I know I'll be listening to it over and over again, and I wrote it, for heaven's sake. I know all the spoilers. A glittering ensemble of talent has added glamour and panache to a book I wrote in sweatpants. I mean, to my tale of 4 star-crossed, war-torn lovers and the meddling gods who shape their lives. The glorious whole is worth far more than the sum of its parts. I thought that was so beautiful. And there's also music on this production because piano plays such an important role in the book. So she had someone transcribe and perform nearly 30 musical pieces in the audiobook. Many of them are original compositions. So it's also a really special audio production, and I highly recommend getting all formats of all these fabulous books. And then we don't want to leave you. We always have a question of the week. I know there's a lot to take in, so maybe everyone needs like a moment, but we have even more to share. Oh, wait, first, before we get to our question and our surprise video, so stick around, don't leave. Elizabeth, do you want to tell us about the reading sampler that's coming?
Absolutely. And I want to say thanks to Emily and Vanessa for joining us. We don't always get to hear from you about the great books from our sister kids division. So there's so much that I'm excited to read from you guys and excited to introduce my kids to. So thanks really very much for joining us and talking. And if everyone has not yet had their TBR piles overflowing, we're really excited just in time for the holiday weekend. We have just published this morning our summer sampler. It's filled with excerpts from some fantastic summer reads. You can get a taste of Romance at a Lavish Indian Wedding, or check out a stunning Own Voices feminist fantasy debut, or a poignant memoir from an MIT astrophysicist, so really something for everyone here. And in addition to the great literary treats we have in the sampler, inside you'll also find recipes for the perfect sips and snacks to pair with these reads, from buttery croque monsieur to roast pork and peaches to grilled corn guacamole. And I'm really hungry. It's almost noon here, so this is really making me hungry. But we hope you will dip in and find something that strikes your fancy or makes your mouth water, and that you'll share with your patrons and get them excited about some of these great new reads as well.
So that's the perfect segue now to the question of the week, which is no mistake. Before we ask the audience, because we hope you'll share both with the hashtag or in the survey afterwards, what is your go-to food or drink for a summer picnic or barbecue? I'm putting you on the spot, but do any of you want to share what your go-to is?
Sure. I make a very simple pasta salad because I can't really do much else. But what I would really like to do, we have a mint plant that grows in our backyard. And every time I walk by it, I want a mojito. So I'd really like to learn how to make a great mojito. That's my goal for the summer.
Okay, I think you can achieve it. That sounds. We'll check back in with you in a few weeks and see how you're doing. What about Emily or Vanessa? Do you want to share any go-to food or drink that you love to make for summer?
Sure. Lately, my husband and I have been doing a lot of grilling, and I've been on a kebab kick. So I've been making a lot of kebabs on the grill. And I learned how to make chicken satay, the Thai chicken on a stick.
Oh,
and
wow.
we marinate it and then grill it, and it's so good with a peanut sauce. So
that sounds
we've been
delicious.
doing that a lot, which has been good. Yeah.
Really hungry.
Yeah, I think I'm a sucker for a margarita in the summer. Also, anything with chimichurri sauce. Love it.
That's a good one. I know. I was like, don't ask me. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I feel like brownies are always my go-to food to make, but my husband loves making baked ziti, which sounds like such a wintry food, comfort food, but he made some last night and it was exactly what I wanted. I was like, yes. But we'd love to hear what your guys, that's not a summer picnic food, but oh well. Well, we can't wait to see what your answers are. Share pictures too. Hashtag is PRH Morning Buzz. And then finally, as promised, so we asked you guys a few weeks ago, because you are our superstars, and with graduations obviously not being what a lot of us thought they would be this year, or what a 2020 graduation would look like, we asked you to send in videos sharing your own words and advice for the class of 2020, and you really moved us. We thank you so much for participating, and we have a video to share with all of you. So the next slide, I just want to tell you before we play the video, because that will be our grand finale of today's 10th episode. Happy 10. But we are not going to be here next week. So we hope you will sign up for the next Buzz, which will be the following week. We promise we'll be back. We're so excited to, catch up, and we hope you all have a wonderful holiday weekend. And we leave you with our graduation video, which was only possible because of all of you. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And thank you, Emily and Vanessa. It's been so much fun to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for being here. Here we go.
Hello, and congratulations to the class of 2020. Congratulations to the class of 2020. Congratulations to the class of 2020.
I think we had technical difficulties with the video, but we'll send